Welcome to Twisted Remedies. I'm your host, Justin Couture, and this is a podcast about the benefits of Jiu-Jitsu and other non-traditional remedies in trauma recovery. And welcome back, everybody, to Twisted Remedies podcast. I'm here today with, I think, what I would describe as a power couple, and I don't like to use terms like that often, but I think as we get through some stuff here, that's going to be, I think other people will agree with that. So we're here with Kate and Eric from Seminar Stack. We're going to get into what Seminar Stack is later, but in a nutshell, it's bringing jiu-jitsu and wellness resources to first responders, and I am probably under delivering on that, but I'm going to leave it to them to explain it later. Kate is the CEO and founder of Seminar Stack. She is the vice president of Sozoaid, program director for Adopt-A-Cop. They both train jiu-jitsu. Kate also lifts heavy things and puts them down frequently, from what I understand. Eric is a Pennsylvania State Trooper, trauma survivor, and like I said, also trains jiu-jitsu. So that was a lot of stuff. Thank you guys for being on the show.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
That's a lot of pressure now.
Yeah, I like to build it up at the beginning so that, we just know where to go, but up from there. So anytime I have somebody on who trains, I like to get into kind of how you got into jiu-jitsu, and I know that's going to tie into some other stuff we're going to get into later, but Kate, I don't know if you want to go first, but like how you got into jiu-jitsu, where you train, how long you've been training, that kind of stuff. If there's other martial arts before that, people like to hear that too. You guys aren't of the right vintage, but a lot of my guests are like, oh yeah, I watched the martial arts movies from the 80s and the Karate Kid, but I fully expect your answer will be different than that.
Yeah. Our martial arts journey is very different than that. Pretty new to the space in general. The closest thing I have to any kind of martial art was when I bartended at a sports bar. We would play the UFC cards prior to our experience. But I've always wanted to try it. I've always been interested in the martial arts space. It was just something that I never got to experience. And then Eric had an accident, and through researching things to do as part of recovery, which we'll talk about later, but I was looking around in the area and trying to find him something that would coordinate with, law enforcement, his recovery, his symptoms, and martial arts. At least the jiu-jitsu program that we had found seemed like it was pretty scalable. So we reached out to a local gym. I found them through a program that's called Adopt-A-Cop BJJ. And what they are is a nonprofit that pays for active duty law enforcement to train in jiu-jitsu up to their blue belt. So our local gym is part of that program. And through that, I was like, well, these guys are obviously going to be law enforcement friendly. Let's just go in and talk to them and see if this is something that would fit for Eric's recovery, for us starting out, if it's scalable, and just like kind of get the ball rolling. So that's where I started. My journey was directly through that. That was, 5 years ago. No, three years ago. Your accent was 5 years ago. 3 years ago-ish is when we kind of stepped into that world. But that was very much the first of any kind of martial art at all for me.
I think the bartending, that is I think there's definitely some martial arts of some kind involved in that. So we'll give you credit.
Yeah.
What about you, Eric?
And then for me, so I wrestled through grade school, like kindergarten through 11th grade. And so I had mat time, and it was always interesting to me, or I was always interested in it, but I could never afford it, never had the time to do it. Through college, my buddies and I, we would watch UFC when we were together when we could. And so I've always kind of followed the sport in a way, but never stepped foot on the mat, never crossed that threshold. And then, like she said, through the recovery, we started, her and I both really got into UFC, and that's our sport that we follow now is mixed martial arts. And that's what we watch every Saturday or Sunday or whenever it's on. Like, we're not football fans. We don't watch baseball. Like, it's martial arts for us.
Yep.
And so as we started watching it more and more, through my recovery, she was like, I've always kind of wanted to try that, to like bring up that conversation. I was like, really? It's like, well, I've always wanted to, get into martial arts, and outside of just the wrestling. And then it was the same process for her because we started at the exact same time together. So I know, like, background for me is I had that wrestling. So like I have that experience, that little bit of experience, but there's always that adjustment transferring from wrestling to jiu-jitsu. You
Right.
know, it correlates really well and it meshes really well, but there's definitely things that you do in wrestling that are just no-goes in jiu-jitsu, you know?
Right.
So
Yeah. Well, and
I
the other
still leave my neck way too exposed because that's illegal in jiu-jitsu or in wrestling, but jiu-jitsu, like, that's the prime target.
right, but it goes the other way too, because I mean I wrestled briefly in high school, and the one thing I remember is don't be on your back,
Exactly.
and
Yep.
it's that's
Yep. You're like getting
now
down,
that's
you
my
freak
bread and
out.
butter.
Yeah. Yeah. You get on your back. I freak out and I go belly down, and then I'm belly down with somebody mounted on my back. I'm like, that's like one of the worst places
Yeah,
you can be in jiu-jitsu. So like, yeah. So it's
excellent.
been
So training about 3 years. Any other kind of background? Obviously, like I mentioned at the onset, Eric, you're a trooper in Pennsylvania. If I remember correctly from when you and I talked, you've been doing that. You've been on the job 10 years. You guys mentioned the accident was 5 years ago. Did you have a pretty standard path into law enforcement, or was it like a light bulb moment, or just like
no,
I ended up just like, oh, apparently now I'm a
I'm gonna be
cop.
a
I don't
cop.
know.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, mine was actually pretty linear. So through high school, it wasn't like there's no law enforcement in my family. I'm the first of the kind there. We're not even a big military family.
Yep.
So I kind of breaking the ice in that world in my family history is a lot of times like, oh, my dad was a cop, so I want to be a cop. My grandfather, like, it's kind of like passed down in the lineage. I didn't have that. And so through high school and stuff, I was trying to figure out what I want to do in college. And I like considered military, but like had a long talk with my parents, and we decided that it's not something that I wanted to do.
Yep.
And so I went to college and I picked criminal justice just because I've always been interested in like rule enforcement, I'll say, because like I was a lifeguard through high school and all that kind of stuff. And I've always been a big rule follower, all that kind of
Giddy,
stuff.
giddy.
Yeah, I was like goody goody. And so I started studying criminal justice, and like literally within the first like 2 months of college, I was like, you're like that was my light bulb. I'm like, yep, I'm doing something in criminal justice.
Yep.
And I didn't know what exactly that was. But as I continued studying it and as my college career went on, it was leaning more towards enforcement, like law enforcement, not the corrections, not, um, law or judging. It was like I wanted to be the law enforcement side, like the police side. And so I initially wanted to go into feds,
Yep.
and everything federal needed either military or local previous law enforcement
Yep.
experience. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not doing military. I've already made that decision. So let me start to apply to all these other police agencies as much as I can. And so from college, my senior year of college, I was applying to pretty much every agency on the East Coast of the United States. And, looking at salary caps, looking at academies, like which ones are paying for the academy, which one do I have to pay, all that kind of stuff. And then in the process, applied for the state police in Pennsylvania. And after I graduated, I worked at a college campus for like campus safety security situation. And like not a rent-a-cop, but not a police officer. I was like
Right.
right in that fun little
Yeah.
middle ground where like I carried handcuffs and mace, but like
Right.
that's all I had.
Yep.
And then from there, I was like, I made it into the state police on my first try. And it was like it was an hour. It was like a year and a half long process to get in. But yeah, so I pretty much went from college to campus security to state police. And then I've been there since.
Nice.
Yep.
So, and that kind of brings us to your 5 years in to that career, and things took a turn.
Yeah.
It sounds like. So,
So
walk me through that.
yeah, so I got into the academy in March of 2015, and then graduated September of 2015. So then in April of 2020, I was involved in a near fatal, very serious, severe injury car crash on duty. And so I had just hit my 5-year mark. I was just getting my stride. I just obtained the drug recognition expert certification. I was like working midnight shifts, making all sorts of proactive arrests, applying for specialty positions. And then all that got halted because somebody wasn't paying attention. So I was handling a crash scene. I was working the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift. And then at 6 a.m., we were dispatched to a multi-vehicle crash on a bridge, which was a 3-lane highway in our area that's very heavily trafficked for rush hour. and it's 6 a.m., so it's right before rush hour. And when I get there, there's a truck that's front end is crashed into the center barrier of the median of the bridge, and then the back end is kind of in the left lane of the 3-lane highway, so the fast lane.
Yep.
And so I have no idea where the other car is. Can't see it. So we park our cruiser behind the car, all of our lights on, everything. I'm in the passenger seat. My partner's in the driver's seat. And he stays in the car, stays restrained. I get out to go check on the truck to make sure no one's inside needing emergency assistance, while he's getting, fire police, tow truck, PennDOT, the whole everything in line to prepare to have a crash scene at rush hour. And get to the car, no one's inside the truck. I walk back to my police car, close the door, look at my partner, and I was like, hey, I'm going to go get flares. And then, boom, get hit from behind at 70 miles an hour.
Wow.
So, like, the time frame for me getting in the car and closing the door to impact was less than 5 seconds.
Wow.
And then so when I got hit, we got hit so hard. The impact was at 70 miles an hour. We got hit so hard that it pushed our cruiser into the truck that we were investigating and crushed the front end of the cruiser. It's like, that's how hard and aggressive that impact was.
Essentially, like you had run into the truck, like at
it
speed.
Looked like we had run into the truck.
Yeah.
But we got pushed.
Right.
Because we got hit by a Sprinter van going 70 miles an hour.
Yep.
And because I was unrestrained, I got thrown all sorts of around inside the car. But as soon as the impact happened, I essentially went unconscious and blacked out. And then the next thing that I remember was outside of the vehicle, outside of my cruiser, on the highway, leaning against the median. Have no idea how I got out. And I'm just like leaned over like this and just pouring blood. I remember like seeing the puddle below me. And then my partner asked me, hey, how you doing? And I was like, oh, I've been better. And then whoop, went out again.
Wow.
And then woke up in the ambulance the next time with my corporal at the foot of the ambulance door. The door's open. They're cutting off my uniform, wrapping up my head. And he's like, hey, Eric, who should we call? And I was like, Ghostbusters. No. So he's like, who should we call? And I was like, he's like, give my mom's number, her home line, and then rattle off Kate's phone number and her cell phone. And at that point in time, like, we were dating for 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did not know his phone number.
Yeah.
I don't know how you did that.
I think that he gets points for that, though.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Yep.
I don't even know if I had your real name in my like, we'll see where this goes.
Yeah. Then went out again, woke up in the trauma bay as they were loading me up. And I remember being in shock and being like freezing cold, had like 30 blankets on me, just couldn't get warm. And then went out again and woke up in my hospital room as they were stitching up my face and head.
Wow.
So it was crazy. It was a lot. And you have to keep in mind too, like, this is April of 2020. So this is right when COVID was like really hitting, and it was particularly starting to hit the area where we live, like in the Hershey-Harrisburg area in Pennsylvania. And so the hospital staff, and it was very challenging in the hospital. And like, the crash happened at 6 a.m. and I was home on my couch at 3 p.m. the same day.
Wow.
It was no good.
It was no good.
Wow.
It's no good. And it's just like, I don't fault the nurses and staff there, like, because I handle injuries way too well for someone who handles it, like, who gets injured a lot.
Right.
I handle it way too well. And so, like, once I finally came into like full consciousness, I was like bantering with the doctors and the nurses, and like,
He FaceTimed me.
Oh.
Yep. When I finally got
Hospital.
I finally got my phone and FaceTimed her, and I kept it off to the side at first, and she's like, how is it? And like, I went from this side across my face because my left orbital was fractured completely shut.
Oh, wow.
And so I came to the good side of my face and then over to mine. I was like, oh, I've been better. And she's like,
he says that the whole time. I saw his whole face.
Right. Right.
He just thought
I thought it was being.
You weren't. I could see you the whole time.
Yeah.
So the extent of the injuries then, obviously head trauma. Did you have any other broken bones, other stuff, or just?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to say just head trauma, because obviously that's
right, just
that's
head trauma.
not the right way to say that.
On that one. No. So like I hit the dashboard through the airbag with such force that it like split my scalp essentially. Yep. So like from my eyebrow across my forehead up to the top of my head, that whole part of my scalp was like
wow.
blew off.
Yeah.
And so when they reattached it, they put a tube in the top of my head and down and around to help drain. I had a little blood sac here for the first like week that I was out that we had to measure and make sure it was still draining appropriately.
Wow.
It's just a lot for someone when you're dating for 6 months to
Yeah.
be on their couch with a blood sac. Like, hey, can you measure my blood for me?
Wow.
My left orbital was completely fractured and swollen 100% shut.
Your eyelid had come off.
My eyelid like basically almost came off that they had to like sew it and reattach it. And like that was some of the weirdest
That was gross.
That was some of the weirdest stitching experience that I've ever had. Having stitches on your eyelid was very bizarre feeling.
I would imagine.
And then obviously head trauma, concussion, traumatic brain injury, all that stuff. And then my shoulder, I had a torn labrum in my shoulder that I had to get surgery for. And that's fixed, full range of motion, strength, everything there. But like that's it, along with whiplash.
Right.
Pretty severe whiplash and muscle tension everywhere in my like from my shoulder blades up. But like
chest down though.
Chest down was fine. Like I didn't break any ribs. I didn't break any my arms, legs, knees, ankle. Like none of that was fine. I've had the only issues I've had with walking is related to the head trauma.
Yep.
The balance issues and the vertigo and the eyes not working functioning the same way they should be, like that kind of stuff. But like it didn't affect me in that way. It didn't affect my cognition. Didn't affect my speech, which can happen with serious head injuries and stuff. So like I've been very blessed, and that all comes back to the fact that it happened at the exact moment in time when it happened,
right?
Which is crazy, because like if I hadn't closed the door to the car,
right,
the car would have like crunched around me,
right?
And who knows what would have protruded through and stabbed me, or I would have been stuck in there longer and would have lost more blood, which could have caused other issues.
Yeah. Or if you'd gotten out to get the flares.
If I would have been out to get the flares, I would have been out of the car and potentially run over, or I would have been at the trunk of the car and hit directly on and probably wouldn't be sitting here today.
Right.
And if it happened earlier when I was walking to the car, because of how the cruiser got pushed, I would have been pinned between the two cars. So like it happened at the literal best moment that it could have ever happened.
Yeah.
The only thing that would have made it better is if I could stay in there longer and like put my seatbelt on.
Right. I mean,
that wasn't in the plan anyways, because I was getting back out of the car in 2 seconds.
Right. I mean, I think like right place at the right time. And granted, none of that was the right place, but of all the places you could have been at the time, I think that was the one.
It was kind of best case scenario that it could have been, and that's one of the things that it's taken me a while to acknowledge and accept, there's the whole mental side of things that I've been going through for the last 5 years of, not having my job, not being back at work where I want to be, which is one of my biggest passions, not being able to work out, not being able to lift, not being able to drive, not being able to do all of these things that I was able to do, on top of that is recognizing and acknowledging like, oh man, I only have these injuries.
Right.
And focusing on what I have and what I can do instead of like what I should be able to do.
Yeah. I think that speaks to, I talk about mindset a lot with certain guests that I have, but I think the fact that you didn't just, kind of, because you're training, like, we talked about, you found this as like a tool for recovery, and some people would have that circumstance of the injuries and all the aftermath of that and just be like, well, I guess, this is it. I gotta do something else. And you're hanging in there, and you're from what you have told me, in, that first phone call we had, you're not, it doesn't sound like you're one to just kind of sit back and rest on like, well, I guess this is what I'm handed. So I think that speaks a lot to mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't always that way though. It's definitely been a big learning curve for both of us. But when the accident first happened, especially because our relationship was where it was, like the initial mindset was not, okay, well, what can I do next? If it was very much that dark hole. It was very much, these things happen. And I feel like sometimes when people see people with a more positive mindset, they think that, oh, those people just have an easier time getting there. And in reality, like, you have to climb your way to that mindset.
Right.
It doesn't just happen. So I think that's important that, Eric gets recognition for being able to climb out of that hole the way that he has. And I'm proud of him for it. That's part of the reason why I'm still here and why our relationship is the way that it is, because if he was somebody who was just going to sit back, like, I'm not just going to sit back with you. But I'm more than happy to stand here and help you grow back to where you want to be.
Yeah.
So it speaks volume to his character.
Yeah. I mean, it was the first 6 months. I was probably like, I was fully down and out. Like I could hardly stand up to get to the kitchen.
Right.
And I feel like she gave me the good graces in that time to be like, all right, he's really messed up. I'm gonna let him, not gonna give him a hard
I
time.
break up with someone with brain damage. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like for me personally, it would have ruined my brand. I just
I mean, but in all seriousness, no, I think it speaks highly of you as well that you were, like, okay, let's, jump right in, and obviously there must have been something there, because if you didn't like him, you probably would have found some reason.
I always say that she really stepped up when I needed her to step up.
Yep.
And I think the only reason that she stepped up the way that she did is because of how we started our relationship. 100%. Like that's the only reason it has to be, is because we were only dating for 6 months.
Right.
But at that time, like when we first started dating, like I was still technically married, going through a divorce.
Right.
And so like I never thought that I was going to be in a relationship again. And so I was kind of doing a no nonsense thing. And like she was also doing the same thing. Like you told me what, on the third date?
It's the third date. It was like, if this isn't going anywhere, just tell me. Like I don't really have time for nonsense. And that's, I mean,
yeah. And so like after the first month of it, like I was like, well, I'm going through a divorce. Like I don't really want to start a relationship while I'm technically still married. That seemed wrong. And then it was just taking too long.
Yeah.
And we were still hanging out and like vibing really well and like getting along really well. And I was like, let's do it. And then, but we both went into it, at the start of the relationship, where both had really good mindsets and headspaces about like, hey, this is what we want to have happen because of all of the things that we've had happen before.
Right.
And that just like this crash definitely like pushed that forward faster than we probably would have if it didn't happen.
Definitely faster.
Yeah. Probably like, we were together for almost we were together for like 9 months before my divorce finally finalized.
Yeah.
So like that wouldn't have happened. It was crazy. It's crazy. So it's been a wild ride, and there's still a lot of ride left before I can get back, but it's still on the horizon. It's still my end goal.
Right.
And I'm trying to do things. I'm trying to do as many things above and beyond, the minimum to get myself back, because I recognize that the minimum won't get me back to where I want to be.
Right.
And that's kind of where jiu-jitsu fell in for us, was, that first step of going above and beyond to get myself back.
Yeah. So you're working your way back. What does that look like today? Like where are you at with all of the kind of aftermath you described with the injuries and the TBI and everything? Like what does today look like for you?
So I'm on a home plan for physical therapy after 5 years of physical therapy. I had still actively in vision therapy to get my eyes going straight. I have a weekly massage therapy, which sounds lovely, but I've had a massage therapy every week for 3 years, and my muscles still aren't relaxed yet.
Right.
That's how severe the whiplash is.
Wow.
And it's all good and well. I do get a weekly massage. It is nice, but like that's because it's
right.
so much tension.
Right.
And then outside of that, I have my own
counseling.
I have counseling.
Botox.
Yeah, I get Botox injections every quarter, essentially, to help with the headaches. I've gone to a brain health clinic last year, March, where I was gone for a full month and saw every single person that you can imagine you would need to see. But like a normal day to day, like I always have a headache. 24/7. I've had a headache every single hour of every single day since April 24th of 2020.
Wow.
And it never goes away. Like in the scale of injury of like 0 to 10, how do you feel? Like it's always a minimum of 4. That's as low as I can get it. And that's with my Botox injections. That's with a device called a cephaly device, which is basically like a tense unit for your forehead.
Yep.
That I take. And that's with another medication that I take every night to combat these headaches. And so and then another one that I take as needed, for flare-ups. And so like without all of that, like I can only imagine how miserable I would be on a day-to-day basis. But it's taken me 5 years to get to a point where my headaches are maintaining at a 4 out of 10 baseline. elevating from there. Because like for the first 2 years, it was like an 8.
Wow.
And then year 3, it maybe dropped down to 7. Year 4, maybe it dropped down to 6. And like now we've kind of found a good treatment path that's brought it down to a 4. So like everything's going the right way, but it's
Takes time.
still not there.
Right.
Yeah. Like in law enforcement, like having a headache sucks.
Yeah.
With all of the other things that you have to deal with. And then if you have that headache all the time, like that's not a good headspace to be in for a career that demands that.
Right.
And then with me, like with my eyes not working properly, I'm in vision therapy for 2 years because I can't focus. There's a delay from far focus to near focus, which is exactly what you need when you're driving.
Right.
You drive 6 to 8 hours a shift in police work. That also, like if I have to draw my gun,
right,
that's near to far focus constantly with a deadly weapon in my hand. Like these are all things that I need to get fixed before I can go back. And people are like, "Oh, you look great. You can change your jiu-jitsu. You can work." It's like, no, like it's not the same.
Yeah, it's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
I like that you talked about. I mean, obviously, there's a huge physical impact with all of this, but you also mentioned counseling, right? And I mean, the basis of the show is taking care of that mental health piece, right? And so I like hearing that you aren't just like, well, I got to get my body going and fix all of that, and everything else is fine. And I mean, that's a traumatic event that you were involved in. So I'm glad that there's a counseling piece in there as well. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I can't stress it enough. I mean, like I've always been I feel like I've always had a good mental space with law enforcement even before the crash. And like obviously this was like trauma and like then brought up so much more.
Right.
But like I was pretty good before then about handling and dealing with my trauma, not just compartmentalizing it and like, letting my emotions express.
You're an emotional person.
Yeah. And like I was also really good at like separating what I feel like a lot of officers struggle doing is separating work from home from hobbies. Like they can never kind of turn that cop brain off.
Yep.
And then so they're constantly in that high stress thing, and like they're not recognizing how much that's doing to their brain and their own mental health. And they're like, I'm not happy. I'm never happy because I'm the police officer. It's like, no, you can be happy. You just have to find something that can allow you to turn that off for an hour or two a day. And yeah, that's huge. And like I was really good at that before. Like I actually stopped. This probably shouldn't say this, but like when I'm not working, I generally don't carry my gun because I found that when I was carrying my gun, I was always a police officer.
Right. You're hyper vigilant.
Enjoy anything that I did because I had my gun on my hip. I'm like, okay, if something happens, like everything that I evaluated every single place that I went as a police officer.
Yeah.
So that was just my personal choice. And like I get flack for it all the time at work, but I'm like, dude, like I had to do that for my own mental sanity so that I could enjoy being with my girlfriend or my wife or my family or, out in public in general. And like,
right.
There's times that I will carry, obviously, but like I don't do it 24/7 because like I just need to offload it.
Yeah. So you talked about looking, part of recovery is looking for stuff to occupy you, to help you get well, to help you stay healthy. And then Kate, you go looking for something and not stumble into, but you find jiu-jitsu as a resource. Tell me about that.
I mean, I didn't think that I was going to like it as much as I do. And it really has turned into like not just a way for Eric's recovery. It really helps me in my recovery, my mental state, physically. It's empowering, especially as like a short woman. I'm a 5'3". Like just being able to feel more comfortable, like going out, it's empowering. Like I said, it's a different thing. And I think being able to take those kinds of achievements and share them then also with my partner in life and in recovery and all of the other aspects of my life. Like jiu-jitsu touches every part of your life. And that might sound kitschy, but it does. Like there's so much that goes into jiu-jitsu. You're so vulnerable. It's so physical. It's so mental. It hits all of these huge areas that, some people don't get to pay attention to all those areas all at one time.
Right.
So, and I think that's why it's so liberating, and why so many people are able to connect with it, and why the community is so strong, and why the people that do it are so fantastic. Like, we're all putting ourselves out there, and everybody knows that struggle. And we joke all the time, it's like a little bit of trauma bonding, right? You're
Right.
never more vulnerable in a controlled space to have this kind of trauma bonding, and not to make light of trauma bonding in itself, but it's kind of its own thing. So it's been really great to be able to do together and to do separately. Like, I'll go to women's classes without Eric, and that helps me in a different way than being able to just train with him.
Right.
So.
And Eric, when you train, obviously, well, not obviously, I guess that's why I'm asking, do you have to approach things differently? Like, how does kind of where you're at in recovery, how does that work with your training?
Affect and impact the jiu-jitsu training
Yeah.
in the world. Yeah. It's very limited for me. And
okay.
It's, I skip a lot of things. You know, we had when we first started that intro meeting that we had, the large majority of the conversation was about like, hey, like I have these following symptoms and these injuries that we feel like are going to be around for a while. Like, is this something that's reasonable? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And like everywhere that we go and train, you know, like I always skip the forward and backward rolls.
Yeah.
Always. Because like, I mean, like that makes someone whose head isn't messed up dizzy.
Yeah. Me.
So like for me, if I do the forward rolls, like I'm dizzy for 3 days.
Right.
So like I just don't do them. I mean, like, but everywhere that I go, people, I bow out of it, and like, and no one bats an eye. No one cares. No one's like, oh, you pussy.
Right.
Like, no, like I say, man, sorry, you call me what you want. Like, I'm just not going to do it. So like, those are the limitations that I do. And like another thing that we do when we train is like, I generally speaking, do not do live rolls.
Yep.
Because of just how sometimes volatile it can be, matching energies with someone. Like if someone goes too high, you're like, oh, I got to match that. And then it just keeps raising. Like we found that early on when we started training, like, because I'm a bigger guy too, people always tend to go harder.
Right.
And so
well,
like,
and if they know anything if they have any idea that you wrestled at some point, it's
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Like I got to shut this guy up. Yeah. I was like, oh, he's a police officer. Yeah. I want to choke him out.
Right.
You know? So I started having to become very selective with who I was training with, even for drills and stuff too.
Yeah.
You know, like I generally speaking, I don't do any of the judo.
Right.
Period. Because like the throws and like that elevation change and rapid movement switches mess with my equilibrium and my symptoms and my vertigo and dizziness and concussion and stuff like that. And like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And then but I would say probably 98% of the time I only train with Kate, you know, which is, you know, a benefit and a detriment in some ways. Cause like, again, she is much smaller than me. So like, I'm not getting the same kind of training, you know, as someone of my own size.
Right. Getting really strong.
But like but it's really good for her because she's only training with someone who's twice her size.
Right.
And she's like, I feel like I'm not doing anything. It's like, hey, you have to realize I'm two of you.
Right.
And then so when she goes to women's class, she'll come home. She's like, oh my God, I feel so much better because she's actually rolling people that are her size.
Throwing people around, wondering why.
Yeah. So everything is very limited. Like I wear a heart rate monitor when I roll to tracks, you know, where my symptoms can go rise to and things like that. I try and keep it at a certain level, which is why I don't live roll. I'll do flow rolls here and there. So like a lot of the times I'll roll with the black belts because they're really good, obviously, at they know they can crush me.
Right.
And so they just let me do the move and like they roll with it and stuff. But yeah, there was times where when we first started, I was like gung ho about it because everything that I do 100%. And I would do some of these live rolls in these one class that we went to. The guy picked me to be the uke, and because I was around his size, and he was doing a sweep, and so like Jakesin, he grabbed he was doing a sweep where I was like basically pulling guard, and you like grab the ankles, you like push him back, and as they go back, you scoot around to the side. Well, like he didn't like do it gently with me. He like grabbed and like chucked me, and like I wasn't ready for it, so I just went back, and like everyone, the two instructors, like no, you can't do that with him. Like,
no.
And so like then I very quickly learned like, okay, I probably shouldn't be the uke just in case.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so
not without some discussion ahead of time.
Yeah,
like,
exactly,
what are you going to
Eric
do
also
exactly?
has a very hard time telling people that he's broken.
Yeah.
So, we'll go to class and we're like, did you tell the instructor that you can't do this? And so it makes, he's like, oh, I didn't say anything. I was like, just go tell him,
Yeah.
So he struggles with that a little bit even now.
Yeah.
Guess that.
And is that also, like you mentioned, that like the headaches have come down and they're at a 4, like are you finding that the longer you're training, is it the challenges of training, are those lessening also, or are they pretty much in the same place?
No, they're definitely lessening.
Yeah.
And like I think that's part of that learning curve with the recovery as well. Like to the point where like I have done some rolls in class just to test
Right.
and see where it's at. Like in the beginning, when we first started, if I did one roll, like I couldn't do the rest of the class.
Right.
Period. This one, if I'm like, all right, I'll do one just to make sure that I'm still doing the form correctly, and like I can do one and I'm fine.
With the right person. So
with
you're
the right
not,
person and like all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like it's definitely getting better, and that I think that also comes too with learning more about the sport.
Right.
And learning more of those techniques, not doing that psycho white belt stuff, like being more reserved and like being able to, which we still
white belts.
Yeah, we're only 2-stripe white belts. Like by no means do we know everything about jiu-jitsu.
No.
But like
no, but
we know enough that
you're on the
be like,
mats,
right.
and that's what counts.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it is lessening, I think, and I think it's part of that learning curve, and it's a big thing for me to journal that and see like, all right, I went to class on Thursday and Friday it impacted me more. So what did I do in class on Thursday that is giving me this prolonged symptom? And then how did that correlate into me returning to work?
Right.
And like, that's kind of what this whole process has been about of us using jiu-jitsu, is about, we did knee on belly stuff last Thursday, which is like the quintessential great cop position to be in.
Right.
Is knee on belly. So we were doing knee on belly and escape from knee on belly. And we did that for pretty much the entire class. And Friday I was like, it's messed up. And I was trying to figure out what was that aspect of that move that was, that caused it, which is also cool too, because it helps us have to reevaluate everything that we're learning too.
Right.
But,
yeah. It's making you kind of like you're breaking down the techniques, not in the traditional, like I got to figure out why this technique works, but why do I feel worse or why do I feel better? That's interesting.
Yep.
So then, I read off, Kate, all your stuff at the beginning, and you're not one to obviously sit around and do nothing either based on all of that. So then Seminar Stack happens, or you make it happen. Tell me kind of, just for people, I mean, again, I have a basic understanding of it. For people listening, what is Seminar Stack? How did it come about, and where are you at with it?
I'll let you tell it. I told her earlier today.
All right, it's fine. So in the process of this learning curve of me trying to get back and like do these kind of things, like one of the processes that we were trying to work is thinking of me like, when I go back, I'm obviously not going to go back right into full uniform behind the wheel of the car arresting people. Like that's just not. I've also been off for too long. There's too many administrative things that I have to do before I can even do that.
Right.
And so like, all right, well, if we think ahead and be like, all right, I have to get back, that'll probably mean that I'll have to do computer work and desk work and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I struggle with is screen time. And that kind of work, it impacts my eyes and my eye focus, and then causes the headaches and dizziness. And so like, what can we do to help, facilitate that we can do like on our own time, manage on our own, but also do something that we want to do to hit that passion that I'm missing from work. And that's kind of where Seminar Stack spawned. And it was because we found jiu-jitsu, which changed our lives entirely through the Adopt a Cop program. We wanted to donate to Adopt a Cop, but we are by no means men of means over here. And so like our check that we would have made an impact, but it wasn't the impact that we wanted to make.
Right.
And so we decided to host a fundraiser for them. And that's where Seminar Stack spawned, with the added benefit of it also helping assist me to get back to work. And it started, we did our first year last year, and we were able to raise $8,700 with our first year. And then after it was really successful. We had really good feedback from everyone that attended and the instructors that we had. We decided at the end of last year to turn it into a business, or for Kate to turn it into a business, and then just kind of go from there. And now we're bigger than we were last year with a lot of cool instructors, and it's a really, really awesome event that focuses our love of jujitsu and health and fitness and wellness, but with a big push for law enforcement to get additional training in jujitsu. Maybe you don't want to commit to a membership at a gym, but you can come take these seminars and learn some cool things and some tactics that will work really well for suspect control or de-escalation or use of force or just overall health and wellness. And so that's kind of how it's spawned. And like the event has gotten pretty sizable and pretty exciting.
Yeah. So like he was saying, like Seminar Stack kind of grew out of the fact that we wanted to be able to donate to Adopt a Cop. And it's the fundraiser that we decided we wanted to do. Taking the ideals of him being a law enforcement officer and things that we like to do just as people is how the Seminar Stack was kind of scheduled, right? The focus on health and wellness, the courses for sport jiu-jitsu, for first responders, we kind of all pieced it together. So it was an event that we would want to attend, all while raising money for a cause that we support.
Right.
So at the end of the year, when we were doing this, we kept having other ideas about how we wanted to grow it. And I'm like, if we're going to grow this and really turn it almost into a passion project, like let's create it into a business and see if we can, make this give you some more purpose while you're healing. So you can do things like assist me on the computer or, come up with an idea or educate himself on additional trainings that are beneficial for all first responders and civilians. Because as a civilian myself, like some of these trainings, you don't really realize the lack of funding or trainings and things that first responders have. And as a civilian, those other trainings are beneficial to you just as people and just growing to better yourself. So the more we're immersing ourselves into this world, the more and more we're finding that there's all these resources everywhere.
But nobody knows about.
No one knows about them, or it's just a matter of breaking into the industry. And as white belts, especially, like we obviously can't train the courses, but I know that Officer Survival Series with Rob McGow up in Massachusetts is an incredible training program. He's one of the nicest guys. He's an amazing instructor, and I also know that nobody in our area knows about it, which is crazy. I know that Invictus LEO does, national trainings all over the place with Jason Rush and Ari Kazan, and, no one around here knows about that. And it's not any fault of their own. It's just exposure. It's exposure to jiu-jitsu in law enforcement as a whole. And that's really growing, I think, in the law enforcement space because it's growing just in general.
Right.
There are so many people that train jiu-jitsu that didn't used to 5 years ago even. But that also means that civilians all know how to do jiu-jitsu. So if you're in law enforcement and you don't, even if you don't like it, you should learn how to combat it to a degree. So like all of these things put together, let's do a business. Let's grow this a little bit, grow the idea. And that's kind of why we started it as a company. And then as Eric was saying, it's grown substantially even from last year. We went from one gymnasium at a local college. This year, we're taking over 3 floors of a casino. We have 3 speakers. We have 6 ticketed seminars. We have 7 free wellness series seminars open to the public that you can come and take without paying a dime. We have a jiu-jitsu tournament that's all ages with cash brackets, with first responder only brackets running the entire day. We're starting the morning with the Ruck event, with a sandbag team event benefiting another nonprofit called the We Defy Foundation. And then we have vendors and $5,500 worth of giveaways that we're running throughout the whole day. So there's just all these elements that are just building upon each other because I think that, people want something to do. And that's helping the community. It's helping yourself as a person grow. It's helping our law enforcement, our first responders. And we've found passion in that purpose, and that's kind of how it's been stacking up.
See what you did there.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's wild to me that this whole thing that has grown into this. I mean, I follow you guys on socials and stuff, and I see it seems like every 5 minutes there's some, hey, we got this person and we got this, and there's cool stuff coming, and the seminar coming up, but it's so interesting that all of that kind of started with like Eric's quest to how do I get back to work?
Yeah, literally. And like I think that's what people, tend to forget who aren't with us all the time.
Right.
They just see like, oh, it's the social media aspect, like the glimpses of life. That's not the whole life.
Right.
And yeah, all of this stemmed literally from me getting hit by a car. And like, but that journey to where we are is still going, and it's inspiring, and it's like we're trying to make something good, like, because my passion for law enforcement, even though I'm not doing it right now, hasn't died.
Right.
Hasn't gone away at all, and I still want to get back. My end goal is I will get back. I will get back to work, in whatever capacity I can handle. But like I will get back. I can't do it right now, so let's do something that can still benefit my fellow law enforcement officers.
And
Yeah,
what's
you're
so
getting it back. Like all of this is good.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Your
exactly.
growth.
Yeah.
well,
So
and what's awesome about it is in you trying to achieve that, you guys have started Seminar Stack, which is now bringing all of these skills and all of these resources to people, well, like you said, civilians and first responders. And I think that is like, again, when I said power couple at the beginning, I was half joking, but that's a huge thing to be able to say, we did this for this reason, but now it's like the deliverables on that are just untold, I think. And I think that's awesome. It's funny because I didn't say this at the beginning, but Rob Magow's episode is the one you guys contacted me after that. Yep. And we kind of started down this road of getting you guys on the show. And I remember the phone call we had with the three of us. I hung up the call and I was like, this is probably the first. I just feel like it is such an alignment of like what I'm trying to do and what you guys are doing it on a far different level than I'm just sitting here with a microphone talking to people. But like it is such an aligned goal of getting cops to train, getting resources for, wellness, health, mental health, all of that stuff to the people that need it the most. And I think that's why I'm excited you guys are here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want to become, an information and knowledge sharing resource for people.
Right.
And if that means them reaching out to us and not coming to the event, cool. We'll give you every information and hook you up with whoever we can. Or if it's like, kind of our whole mentality around the event is we're keeping our seminars priced at $50 for a 2-hour seminar. Reason being, the way that Adopt a Cop operates is that they reimburse officers $50 for their training. And if that officer's training at an affiliate gym, the affiliate gym charges that officer $50 a month. So they charge
right.
$50, they pay $50, and then Adopt a Cop reimburses them $50 to train them for free. So by us keeping our seminars at $50 for 2 hours, every seminar that you register for, you are paying for one officer to train for 1 month. And like that correlation is really cool. We want to keep that going, while also when they come and they take that seminar, here's all of these other resources for training, either in your area or somewhere that you can travel to or something you haven't heard of before. And like we want to keep growing that network so that way, if someone's from Alabama, it's like, hey, do you know somebody here? Like, yep, here you go, right there. And like that's what we're striving to do, is we want to get that information out. Like we don't need to be the teachers, but we want to facilitate the teachers to come together, to help spread the word and spread that knowledge.
Yeah. I don't think I know the answer to this, but Kate, you're currently the program director for Adopt a Cop, right? So were you with them before, or did that happen after this kind of relationship with them?
No, what's funny is we started Seminar Stack in November, and they reached out to us 2 weeks later and asked if we could help be part of Adopt a Cop. So I was like, this might be a mistake. I just opened a business, but like I'll see what I can do. So it's a very part-time, helping them grow and do some admin work and help with fundraising. So no, I wasn't. It was very short time after that they asked us to be involved in it when we had already started Seminar Stack.
Yep. So you keep busy then, for sure.
Yeah. Probably a mistake, but here we are.
Well, everything happens for a reason, I think. Where does Seminar Stack go from here? Because obviously you mentioned you started in like a small gymnasium. Now you're in a casino. And all of this is kind of located where you guys are in Pennsylvania right now.
Yeah, so we're not tied to this location at all. We're very grateful for the spaces that we have, but year after year, if there's a demand and we're able to fund it,
yep.
We see continuing to grow. We've had talks about next year adding on weightlifting competition. We were talking about doing an MMA fight to end the entire evening. So you can just buy tickets to the MMA fight, or you can get a discounted ticket if you are part of Seminar Stack. Those are two elements that we absolutely want to add on. But there's even been talks of being multi-day in the future. There's talks about having certain seminars that are just for law enforcement, and then others that are open to everyone, so that we can kind of get different certifications that'll allow us to open it up to more officers.
Yep.
Who want to be reimbursed for training or get certifications. There's talks about breaking into more martial arts space and like the referee space, doing seminars for them, seeing how big we can get this tournament, all of those things. We have no stop now.
Yeah.
How we can continue growing and making it bigger and better, adding in more seminars, whoever wants to come. We'd love to be able to have as many seminars as we can with all of these different training companies, and then they'll also have a vendor table. So come try their seminar, talk to them about their training.
Do like little taste tests here
right.
and there, because like, obviously they're not going to be able to do their full, kit and caboodle training courses because in a 2-hour session.
Right.
But you can come taste it for $50 and then decide if you like it. And then they'll have their table right there. Like, here's our upcoming events that you can then, as the officer, go back to your department. Like, hey, listen, I just tried this here. They're awesome. Here's the information. Here's when the next one's coming up. Can we go?
Or even if the departments are able to send somebody to try the course, and then the department books that training program to come to the academy or to their department to teach, whatever that might be.
Yep.
So yeah, we fully anticipate continuing to grow, adding on to that. We're completely open to any suggestions that people have about what would be cool or what they've done or things that have worked for them. But
yeah,
I mean,
in order for us to grow, we need each year to, keep flowing. So like we need people to show up on August 2nd and be a part of the event, whatever that means for you. If that's taking a free nutrition and mobility seminar and then buying a t-shirt and entering the giveaways, like that's great. Or if you want to take 3 jiu-jitsu seminars and just live on that mat the whole day and sweat it up and learn everything you can, like awesome. Or if you want to compete or somebody wants to compete and you just want to tag along and spectate the tournament, like that's all growth. That will all help us get bigger and bigger so that we can have these larger scale events and bring more people and more resources and companies and stuff together.
And we'd love to be able to share it with additional nonprofits as well. Like Adopt-A-Cop is one of the beneficiaries. We added on Weedify on a specific area this year. Like, we want to be able to help all. There's so many nonprofits. There's so many great messages and people. Why not share that wealth? It's not going to take away from anybody. We like to offer at least half off of our vendor spaces for any nonprofits that want to come be there. We've talked about doing a charity quintet, which each team would be part of a different charity. There's all kinds of ideas and things. So I think that creative process is the fun part for us. And it's just seeing how we're able to get that done.
Yeah, well, and I just from the brief time I've known you guys, I don't think that's going to be a problem. Yeah, like you said, like, oh, we want to keep growing. From the outside looking in, I think that you will absolutely pull that off, and this is going to keep getting bigger and bigger every year. So I hope you find venues that can handle this over time. I had a question, Eric, about now that you're training, right? You were active for 5 years before the crash. Now that you And you had a wrestling background, so I'm curious about what your opinion on this is. I think I know, but I want you to tell me. So you guys both have, I think, mentioned like law enforcement officers should train jiu-jitsu. So even as a two-stripe white belt, with where you're at with your ability to train, how do you feel like that compares to before you were training, like when you were before the crash?
I mean, that's another reason why Seminar Stack started, was because it was probably after the first month of us training. I like went to Kate. I'm like, dude, why wasn't I doing this before?
Yeah.
Like, and that was after I learned like the hip bump sweep and a Kimura.
Yeah.
Like just those two things alone, I'm like every cop should know these two things. And then like, it's just everything that I learned. I'm like, and this one, and they should know this one, and they should know this one. And so like it just, I immediately recognized the benefit of it. And, as I was reevaluating and, thinking about my training and thinking about previous incidents, I'd go back to some of these, use of force things. Actually, the memory popped up for me from one of my first arrests when I moved to Harrisburg. And it was like a guy was resisting arrest because he had a warrant and didn't think that he had a warrant, of course. And like the takedown that I used was terrible.
Right.
And like with what I know now, like I could have been handled so much better. And it's just, it's wild. And like, it's not taught enough. And like that teaching is getting better, and departments are realizing it. And like, there's other avenues that are coming through that are assisting that. But like when I went through the academy, like we were hardly taught anything ground control, or, we were taught the normal handcuffing. If someone's completely compliant and they work with you, like do that. Or like if they're not, we learned how to handcuff in like different scenarios, like up against the wall or kneeling or standing or belly down. Like we learned those kind of things, but it wasn't like if you put one cuff on now and they get away, you're like, shit,
right,
now what do I do? And like that's where this stuff can come into play, because you can then maintain that control to get that other arm in.
Yeah. I think
that like that's becoming super important, I think, is the team tactics for cuffing. And
I think also like the ability to be calm in those situations is
awesome.
Like,
yeah, I always forget about
think that is one of the biggest components of training is, instead of panicking, you're like, okay, I've been uncomfortable before. This isn't a big deal. I know what to do here. And that changes everything as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, it's the whole reason that every police officer gets sprayed with their mace.
Right.
Is so that you know what it feels like and you can fight through it, so that way the first time it happens, you don't freak the fuck out.
Right.
Like you can blink through it and breathe through it and be like, okay, I'm doing it. Like it should be the same thing with a suspect gets your back.
Right.
Don't do spazzy white belt stuff. Like breathe through it, calm down, like find the controls, find the hands, like do that, all that kind of stuff. Like, and it's the same concept, but it's just, it's a new concept of the same concept.
Right.
And like that mentality just needs to switch a little bit, but it's getting there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I ask everybody that comes on, just because it's the name of the show and it's kind of this play on words and this thing that but when I started doing this, I was like, oh, I'm going to call it this. And then I'm going to ask people this one question. So, obviously I think jiu-jitsu is on the list, usually is for people that come on the train, but what are your twisted remedies? What are the things that help you stay well, stay grounded, stay on track?
Yeah, we do naked video game Sundays, where we have lazy Sundays.
This is like our relationship twisted remedy. Yep.
That's a first.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good. It's really brought us together. But it's a way to unwind and be close to each other and do something nerdy that we love that isn't always just physical. Naked video game Sundays. It's a good time.
Yep. I mean, and that goes to like.
I don't even. It's rare that I'm speechless on the show, but I don't even know what to say to that. That's great. I thought you were kidding at first, and then you're like, no, we really do this.
Yeah, it's very true. It's a real thing. Like, a lot of our friends know about it. They always text us like, hey, can we hang out on Sunday? We're like, not to this one.
Nope.
I don't know. Like, hey, are you wearing pants? We're like, hold on.
Yeah, so that's a good one. That's very real. That we do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
We play
amazing.
pretty much every Final Fantasy game together on our Sundays.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
No one else
and
has said that. That one, like, I have a lot of repeat stuff where people like, I bike and I hike and I, you know, lift weight. Nope, no one has said naked video game Sunday. So,
Well, strap in, because now that it's out
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
Everyone's gonna start doing it.
oh, this is definitely going to make the clips at the end.
Yeah.
Any other ones? I mean, that's just
another
one
one that
day
I-
a week.
Yeah. One that I do a lot outside of jiu-jitsu is the sauna.
Disc golf.
So I guess disc golf too, but like the sauna for me is remedy time. Like that's we have a steam sauna in our basement, like one of those cheaper ones you sit in from like Amazon and whatever. And like, but I'll also go to proper like heat saunas and stuff. But like I love sitting in the sauna, getting the heat. It gets the sweat going. It gets the heart rate up without doing any sort of impact. And then I'll either listen to a podcast or like some mindset coaching, or I'll just zen out to music, or I'll just sit there and reflect on my own self. And like that's where a lot of my own personal mental growth has happened, is in that sauna, sitting with myself in my own sweat by myself, being like, all right, how am I feeling? What's going on? Like really getting back in touch with your body, and then back in touch with your head. It's like that's been a really good remedy for me, is that one.
Awesome. That's a good one. Any others for you, Kate? Or you just doubling
Too
down
busy
on?
to have too many remedies.
Awesome.
My other jobs keep me brave. I honestly like spending time with her. You can't see him right now. There's one of our dogs is over here. I think he popped into this shot and hang out with the dogs. Honestly, working on things like Seminar Stack is a remedy for me. It's a passion project, so it doesn't feel like work. So I'm always just clicking away at something or messaging somebody,
making content and
making content. And it's kind of a cop out, but it is.
I mean, honestly, I don't know how you were going to top Naked Video Game Sunday anyway. I threw out you have other ones because I felt like I should, but I don't know that anybody is.
Yeah.
I may have to stop asking that question because I don't think any other answers are going to.
End of the year recap. Who had the best Twisted Remedies?
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm going to remember that answer. So you guys have talked about the seminar coming up in August. What's the time frame for that? How do people get in touch with you? How do people sign up?
Yeah. So everything social media for us is Seminar Stack. So Instagram, Facebook at Seminar Stack. Website is seminarstack.com. The event is happening on August 2nd, 2025 at Hollywood Casino in Grantville, Pennsylvania, which is basically Hershey. So everything for registration is done through our website on Seminar Stack. There's a section at the top that says events. You click events, and then there's the ruck, the tournament, vendor row, and seminars in there. So click it, add it to your schedule or add it to your cart, and then check out. It's all right there, done on one website. Keep in mind that it is a create your own schedule style event. So each seminar that you want to take, you have to add into the cart, and just verify that with the schedule that's also posted on the website to make sure you're not getting both seminars at 9:00. Unless you want to do that, you can just do half and half. But yeah, it's a create your own schedule event, August 2nd. Everything's on our website. So check it out.
And DM us on social media if you have questions. Send us an email at info@seminarstack.com. We're really easy to get in touch with. Answer any questions. If you're having trouble registering, we've had a handful of people that
we'll register you over the phone.
Register you on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you need, we got.
Yep.
Awesome. Anything else you want to plug? Anything else that's going on down the road, or?
This is the big one. This is where our energy
I mean,
is right now.
It's not like this isn't a lot for you to do. That's for sure.
Other things will pop up. Other fundraisers for Adopt a Cop, I'm sure will pop up.
Yep.
But right now,
if you're not familiar with our two nonprofits, Adopt a Cop BJJ, like I said earlier, they pay for active duty law enforcement to do jiu-jitsu training. So if you can't make the event, but you want to support the nonprofit, you can go onto adoptacop.org and donate right to them. Adoptacopbjj.org. Also, the We Defy Foundation, which is very similar to Adopt a Cop in that they help training for combat veterans instead of law enforcement. Great organization. Same thing. If you want to donate to them or support them, hop onto their website. You can donate directly. So if you can't make the event, there's still ways to support.
Yep.
Whereas we sell merch, all the merch proceeds will also go to the foundations as well.
Yep. Follow all 3 of them on the socials because they'll post up any fundraising activities that they have going on outside of Seminar Stack. But you should still come to Seminar Stack on August 2nd.
Yeah, we will be there.
Awesome. Guys, I thank you so much for coming on. This is, I definitely undersold what Seminar Stack was with the intro, but I think anybody hearing this is would be silly to not find a way to get to Pennsylvania in August. So
yeah, we appreciate being here.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider a like, a subscribe, or a share, or even writing a review. This helps the podcast grow and gets the word out to more people. As always, take care of yourselves and take care of each other.